You had a great weekend. My name is Nate Jackson. Scott Shaffer's right here, and this is Off Field, powered by Accurate America. Boom.
Hello and welcome in.
Please do not leave your luggage unattended on the station.
Welcome to the show.
Yeah.
Hey guys, welcome to Off Field. I'm Scott Shaffer. That's Nate Jackson.
That's
How
me.
are you? Nate.
Sorry.
Oh, you're okay. Who are you texting?
I'm actually retweeting this link.
Yeah, you need to. You go to Twitter. You can watch us there. You can watch us online. You can watch us everywhere, guys.
Yeah.
How was your weekend, Nate?
Yeah, it's pretty good, man.
Yeah.
Just like, so you don't know this yet because you don't
I
have kids.
love when you go right into Sean Payton voice.
No, that's not Sean Payton
You
voice.
started going there. This is how you get into Sean Payton voice.
What? Use my hands?
Yeah.
So look, it's so when you're gonna, he starts a lot of sentences and then you do that.
So I assumed you were going in there
No,
with the
I wasn't doing Sean
little
Payton.
karate you're doing.
No, what I was gonna do is, you don't have kids yet.
Not yet.
You're kind of like stepdad in training.
Girl stepdad, is that what it'd be?
Yeah.
In training, yes.
But there's so much crap to do all the time around
Sure.
the house, right? And then weekends, like you want to be able to do the stuff that you need to get done. Maybe Home Depot, maybe Bed Bath and Beyond. I don't know if
have
I
a nice
have
little
time.
Saturday.
But there's things that need to happen around the house that
Sure.
you kind of put off all week because it's just chaotic. But then your wife schedules a bunch of social time stuff on the weekends, and you got dinners, you got birthday
You gotta
parties,
mingle.
you got stuff, you got lunches, you got things like that. And so you want to do that. You want to be of the world and have social, like normal interactions, but you're obfuscating the stuff at the house that needs to be done. And so there's a balance that must be struck, Scott, between seeing people, doing stuff on the weekend, but then
time
also
management.
But then also getting stuff done.
Stuff done.
You know what I mean?
Did you get stuff done?
Some stuff.
Some stuff.
Not all this stuff.
I mean, it's Saturdays are for getting stuff done.
Yeah.
But also, like you said, you got to have the social aspect.
Yeah. But it was a beautiful weekend.
Yeah, it was.
The weather was nice.
Yeah.
Not so nice right now.
No.
But it was nice and got a little sun and had some just family time.
Nice.
What about you, Scotty?
Good time. I was out of town. I had a show in Kansas.
Oh.
Yeah.
Because you were a stand-up comedian.
I am a stand-up comedian and
Do you prefer comic or comedian? What's
comedian? I think comic.
What's the difference?
Oh well, okay. This is a good question because a lot of jackass comedians like to get up like a comedian. I think how they say a comic says funny things. A comedian says things funny.
That's what?
Yeah, they like to like kind of like, oh well, you're a I don't mind either. I'm probably more if that's
so a comedian's like more of a storyteller
Yeah,
that says
but like
interesting things in a funny way.
Yeah,
but a comic is more like, hey,
Probably.
did I tell you about the guy who walked into the store?
Probably a little edgier, kind of going for some shock value. Not all the time, but got a funny kind of a one-liner out there. I feel like the comics are one-liner guys
comics.
too. Yeah.
Like, do you hear about the guy who went on a hike? The bipolar guy who went on a hike and forgot his Zoloft.
Say it.
He wasn't a happy camper.
It's like the third time you just told that joke on here.
No, it isn't.
It is a good one though. And so that's the kind of difference, I guess.
Right. That'd be a
But
comic.
like I heard that once and it made me roll my eyes. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what about the second time?
Yeah. Same.
Oh, you mean my joke or the comic?
No.
comedian?
The comic comedian thing.
Right,
I
right.
love dad jokes.
Right, right.
I need some stepdad jokes.
Yeah.
No, but it was a fun show. It was like a little one-man show. Did an hour.
Yeah.
And just because like
an hour.
Well, yeah, because some
one
of these
man
shows,
show for an hour.
One man show. Just did a one man show. I mean, that probably means like there was like I don't know, kind of play type stuff. And no, it was just stand-up comedy, but it was a small venue. There was about 70 to 80 people there.
That's not.
It's not a comedy club, so I don't want to keep them for an hour and a half. So I was like, you know what? I don't need an opener. And just went and did an hour.
Wow.
Yeah, it was fun.
And it went well?
It went great. It was a lot of fun.
Look at you.
Literally, it's I have to brag about this because it doesn't happen often. Two people just came up and handed me money afterwards. They're like, you need a tip jar. Just handed me money. I'm like,
why don't you have a tip jar?
I don't know. It seems kind of like I usually have merch, and I don't. If I have merch, I don't want to also have a tip jar.
It's going a little far though. It's like they got to
Yeah.
really like you to want your merch, but maybe they just
True.
want to give you some money and walk away.
Yeah, I don't think it's a bad idea, but like I wasn't expecting it, so maybe in the future I'll
Yeah.
have a tip jar.
You should.
A little Venmo, like a little barcode, and just like, hey,
Do that.
scan this.
You should.
I don't know why it's on my
I mean,
hand.
like you go to every restaurant, every store,
It's true.
they have the tip thing.
Flip it over.
You know, we're gonna tip you at freaking Home Depot
Yeah.
for these nails. Yeah, you're supposed to.
Yeah, if you want to. So yeah, it was a fun weekend though.
Did you watch the Nuggets? Did you watch the Avs?
I tried to. I also had a show on Saturday.
Both,
this show out of town in Kansas went on Friday. Had my show back here in Denver on Saturday, which of course was right during those games. So I was on my phone like most people were in the audience.
Yeah. So the people in the audience were actually paying attention to you, or did you feel the vibes of like half?
I could see one guy with his face lit up because he was trying to hide his phone, and it was a dark room. And so basically,
Did you mess with him?
No, because I kind of wanted to know the score too.
Well, you'd be like, "Hey, sir, what's the score of the game?"
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
And so no, I let them because our show started right at the tail end of those games, so I wasn't really worried about it.
Yeah.
But no, they were fun shows, and yeah, got to watch a little bit of it, and it was a good and bad weekend for the Denver sports.
Yeah.
But we're not here to talk about the Nugs or the Avs. We're here to talk about some rookies that the Denver Broncos drafted.
That's
like
right.
that. Was seamless.
That's right. That was a nice segue.
It may not be seamless when I also just tell people how seamless it was. You know?
No, it was pretty good. It was pretty good. Before we get into the Broncos, and it is slow season for the Broncos.
It is,
and so we are speculating. We're not reacting to any action or anything like that. We're talking about the guys who've come in and how they're going to affect this team. And this rookie class has some promising selections. But as you were mentioning, the people looking at phones and stuff and like checking scores during like things they're supposed to be paying attention to. Before these phones came out and stuff like that, like you would have like dudes in church with like a Walkman, like they was
with a
up the
one
signal,
earpiece kind of thing,
and like going like, yes, I mean, hallelujah.
My Uncle Bill Shooty. That was him. He always wanted to listen to a game
on Sunday.
Yeah,
so the Chiefs game, right?
Yeah. Well, no. He was actually a Cowboys fan. He was from Oklahoma.
Okay.
He liked more the Cowboys thing, but he did that thing all the time where you could see it in his pocket, and he had like the little one earpiece because two was too much. But the one piece was his way to go.
When I was in middle school, I would always have a Walkman with me because I would ride the bus to school and stuff like that. But I would really like to listen to be a rebel and listen to stuff during class. And so I would have those Game Boy headphones.
Yeah.
And I'd run them up through my thing and right here, and I would just lean on it like that.
Sure.
And I remember when Guns N' Roses, I was a big Guns N' Roses fan in middle school. And when Use Your Illusion came out, I think I was in 8th grade. And I remember walking around school just listening to the whole album, thinking I was pretty rebellious. But now you can't even get kids to take their freaking AirPods out.
Yeah. I liked what you were doing because like yours involved a little bit more kind of like creativity and a little bit more like MacGyverness, you always had to be leaning, you had to have like long sleeves, or we just go
it was long sleeve.
Yeah, long
so
sleeve.
It could have be just right out.
But also like were you just sitting there in like English class just like tapping your foot like kind of
trying to conceal it for sure.
Like this kid loves English.
Yeah, exactly. You used to have to like be more creative to get away with mischief.
Sure.
Like, cigarettes versus vapes.
Yeah.
Like it's harder to smoke a cigarette and get away with it than it is with these little fruity vapes that smell like, banana custard.
Oh yeah. And that's probably a normal, it's like pink rainbow surprise unicorn. Like
exactly.
That's what I'm smoking.
Yeah.
Or smoking. I didn't even want to say smoking.
Instead of a Marlboro Red out in the parking lot, and you gotta, consider.
Also, you need scope. You got to like kind of freshen your clothes off too. I actually didn't smoke in high school, but my friends did. And so I would hang out with them. I would come home reeking of smoke. And so I had to clean myself up kind of too.
Yeah.
Little Febreze. That's what we used.
Well, I remember the first time I smoked a cigarette, I used that as an excuse. It was a planned excuse ahead of time. Yeah. Well, I was at my friend's house whose parents smoked.
Yeah.
My parents didn't smell anything, and they didn't ask me about it. You know what I mean? But I was like, you
get nervous.
I had and I also, the first time I smoked a cigarette, I was holding it like, I had seen people smoke joints.
Of course.
And I burnt my pinky. I was like, ah!
That's how I saw. Yeah, I get that.
I want to segue into football talk with an interesting anecdote. When I first got here to the Denver Broncos, I was traded here in the middle of training camp in 2003. So I arrived here a couple days before a preseason game. We went out to Chicago and played the Bears. I didn't play in the game because I had just got here. And I remember coming out of the locker room after the game to get on the bus, and our starting running back at the time was standing outside of the bus smoking a cigarette.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like where all the buses were, all the coaches, nobody cared.
Love it.
He was just smoking a stoke.
I kind of wish I had that kind of a dusting of that, not giving a damn, Yeah. You're just having a cigarette.
Well, dude, they used to smoke cigarettes in the locker rooms.
Yep.
They used to like drink beer in the locker room. Deion Sanders, famous for eating like a hot dog and M&Ms or Skittles on the sideline during a game.
Yeah.
Like it's not how it used to be.
Well, comedy-wise, those comedy clubs used to be, and there's a few places like this now to where it used to just be a den, right? A comedy club was where you had drinks, hardly any food, but everyone was smoking. And so then you'd see that smoke rise into the lights, and it It looked glorious, actually.
Yeah.
And I'm not even a huge smoker, but I wish people could smoke inside. I think people look cool when they smoke.
Yeah, I agree.
Smoke cigarettes, kids.
Maybe we can get a cigarette sponsor here.
You remember Scott Pollard, the old basketball player? I remember one time he was on the bench and he looked at the camera. It's like a Sunday NBC game, and he looked at the camera and just goes, "Hey, kids, do drugs."
Really?
And he got fined for it.
Yeah, he should. As he should.
I think, let's bring smoking back is what we're saying, right?
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. You got to earn it a little more. But
No.
But the Denver Broncos.
Yep.
These guys are, probably right now as we're speaking at 11:10 and 23 seconds on Cinco de Mayo, by the way.
Oh yeah. Happy Cinco de Mayo. Wow.
These guys are training.
Yeah.
And the team, I don't know if the rookies are here yet. I imagine they are. So the whole team is here, and they've signed a bunch of free agents. So there's probably 90 guys or close to it right now at the facility, lifting and running together. The first month is just that. It's not, you're not in the meetings learning plays. You don't have coaches up on the whiteboard. They're not installing the playbook.
Yeah.
What are you going to say?
No. Go.
You're like cracking a smile.
Yeah.
But there's no coaching right now. It's just your strength coaches lifting and running and trying to get better. Dre Greenlaw popped his quad on the very first day of that, which to me sent some alarm bells ringing because the first day is easy.
Yeah.
The first day, they're not trying to break you. They're trying to see where you're at.
And also that major injury he had in the Super Bowl was him just running onto the field.
Yeah. And he plays the game so fast, so aggressively. He's getting older. Every year you get older in this league, and it's harder to stay healthy. But Dre Greenlaw's side, the rest of the guys are getting to know each other. And the rookies are now getting to show up and make an impression around the veterans. We put a lot on the rookie class and who they are and what they're going to be. But really, the meat of this team is already in place. And these guys are coming off a 10-win season, a playoff appearance in Buffalo in which they got their asses handed to them. But they learned a lot about what they needed to do, which is why RJ Harvey was drafted in the second round, a guy that can be a running back that they can rely on, at least more so than Javonte Williams was relied on last year. So today we're going to talk about RJ Harvey and we're going to talk about Pat Bryant, the round 3 pick, the receiver, who I think both of those guys will be involved in the offense, but in different ways, obviously, because they play different positions. But RJ Harvey's replacing a starter, or at least drafted to do so.
Drafted to do so for sure. Yeah.
Javonte Williams is gone.
Yep.
And they got some guys in that room they like. Maybe they want to give more opportunities to Audrey Estime.
Yep.
Blake Watson. Tyler Bidet. They're going to sign.
Great name.
Yeah. Exactly. He's always clean. He's always fresh.
Yeah. Don't shit on that name. Yeah. Well, the thing is, I was wanting to ask you a question. Like, with RJ Harvey coming into this room, losing Javonte, do you kind of see him being projected to be the RB1? Because there was a stat I saw. He's in kind of this cool little class of running backs that Sean Payton has drafted before the day 3.
Yeah.
And that's like Alvin Kamara, Reggie Bush, Mark Ingram status. So just by where he was drafted by Sean Payton, do you think that tells you we're expecting a lot from this guy right away?
I think running backs are unique in that they can come in and contribute right away, comparable to different positions. Like a tight end, takes a while to learn that. The program's a lot different.
Yeah.
You have to learn some things that you didn't know in college.
Well, even you've mentioned you're basically a glorified lineman.
Sometimes. Yeah, you got to learn that skill. Wide receivers, there's more to learn. I mean, you've seen some wide receivers come in and make impacts right away. Malik Neighbors last year, some players being able to do that, but it's not as common as a running back coming in and just lighting it up right off the bat because they hand you the ball off and you fucking run through the hole. I mean, you know what I mean? Running backs, there's terminology.
Sure.
Yes, there's design in the plays that are a little bit different. And whether it's a gap scheme, which is power running through one hole, or it's a zone blocking scheme, which is you're moving along the line of scrimmage left to right based on the call, and you are finding whatever hole is there. And whatever hole opens up, you don't know what hole is going to open up in the zone scheme. So it's a little bit more tricky for a running back, but at the same time, running backs can hit the ground running, so to speak.
I like that.
But you mentioned Alvin Kamara and Reggie Bush. Ingram, Reggie Bush. Sean Payton's only had 2 1,000-yard rushers in his 17 or 18 seasons as a head coach. Deuce McAllister.
Okay. Oh, I always forget about Deuce.
The very first year that he took over in
2006,
Deuce McAllister had just over 1,000 yards. And then Mark Ingram had 3 consecutive 1,000-yard seasons
Mhm.
in 15, 16, and 17.
Nice.
But they were just over 1,000 yards.
Yeah.
And so anyone who thinks RJ Harvey's going to come in, and by the way, RJ Harvey had like 1,500 yards in each of the last 2 seasons in college. Anyone who thinks he's just going to come in and hand him the rock 20, 25 times a game and turn into like a Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley type of guy, you got another thing coming. That's not his plan.
Right.
And so it's rare that a running back even reaches 1,000 yards in Sean Payton's system. Mark Ingram did, but there's always a thunder and lightning aspect to it. There's 2 guys that he likes to use, and that's why not one guy doesn't get to the 1,500.
And Deuce had already been in the league for a while, so once he did that for his first year for Sean Payton,
right? And then so Reggie Bush never rushed for 1,000 yards under Sean Payton, not one time, which is a kind of crazy to think about that. He did the year after he left Sean Payton in Miami.
I know Kamara was a dual threat, but like
Kamara has never had 1,000 yards.
Wild that he didn't have one.
He's never had 1,000-yard rushing in his career.
That's insane.
And Darren Sproles, who broke like an all-purpose yards record, never got that either. So when we look at RJ Harvey and his production, it's not going to be a workhorse running back.
Yeah.
Because Jaleel McLaughlin, I think, is going to have a role on this offense at running back. And then you got Evan Ingram, who you just signed. You want to throw him the ball. You got Cortland Sutton. You got Marvin Mims. You got Devon Vele. You got Troy Franklin. You got this new receiver, Pat Bryant, who we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
And then you got Adam Troutman, who's going to be out there. I mean, there's only one ball to go around. And Sean Payton is not a guy who's going to change his entire football philosophy because everyone told him he needs a running back.
Yeah.
He knows how to win. The year they won the Super Bowl in 2009, they didn't have a 1,000-yard back.
Yeah.
They spread it around. They like to throw the ball around. Sean Payton is never going to be a guy who relies only on the run. He runs to set up the pass. And so I think RJ Harvey's going to have a nice role on this team, but I don't expect him to break any rookie running back records.
Maybe no rookie running back records, but could you see him week 1 starting running back?
Yeah. I can see him starting, but he's got to earn it.
Yeah.
It's a competition. And anyone who thinks that they just kind of, put it in Sharpie that this guy's starting, not the case, because you got to get him around the other guys and see how he performs day in and day out with some really strenuous type of practices, mentally strenuous installation, and then how they react to it day in and day out. The defense they're about to see in practice every day is unlike anything he's ever seen in his life. This is a top 5 NFL defense that just got a lot better. Talanoa Hufanga.
Wow. That was good.
Yeah.
That was really good. Also, I have no idea if that's wrong or not.
Dre Greenlaw. How did I do on that one?
Beautiful.
Yeah. And now Jade Barron.
Wow. You're earning your money
who's
right
the
now.
new first-round draft pick. So those 3 guys, very talented defensive players, make the defense better. What people don't understand and don't often talk about is the effect that great players have on the rest of the team, not just the position group that they're in, not just the side of the ball they're on, but the guys who get to practice against them every day. Like if you're practicing against the best defense in the world, you get better because they're good. I got to practice against Champ Bailey every day. And as a young receiver, that was the best thing I could have been able to experience. It was like, practicing music with Mozart every day. Right?
That's what I was thinking.
You know what I'm saying?
That or R. Kelly, to the greats.
Okay. Yeah. Potato.
That's right.
You know what I mean? So these guys, it's like the rising tide lifts all boats. And so, but it's about competition.
Yeah.
And it's about seeing how these guys perform around their peers on a daily basis. And so I do think that Audric Estime still has an opportunity to be the starter.
Yeah.
If he beats out RJ Harvey in camp, then RJ Harvey's going to start on the bench.
I've seen a whole bunch of predictions, and we all know that predictions don't really matter at this point at all. But I've seen Estime basically be kind of running back number 2 in all these predictions. It basically was RJ Harvey, Estime, Jaleel. And then so actually with his kind of overall stats for RJ Harvey, people kind of they give out pros and cons, right? And so basically kind of a pro is that he's a hard runner. They keep using the word blue collar, but he is 5'8", 200 pounds.
Yeah.
Is Sean Payton's
5'8", huh?
5'8".
Yeah.
Is Sean Payton relying on RB1 to be a good blocker, or is that not necessarily what the starting running back needs to be in this
protecting the quarterback?
Yep, in Sean Payton's system.
Yeah, for sure, because ideally the whole playbook should be open on first down.
Yeah,
and you can do anything in that playbook, and sometimes that calls for a running back to be able to block. You're not always getting the ball on first down. You know, sometimes you are staying in to protect, but most of the time you're not. However, and I know Sean Payton does like situational players who can come in for different situations and different packages.
Yeah.
But you really love a running back who can do all those skills.
Mhm.
You don't want to have to bring a guy in to protect because the other guys can't. One of the knocks against Julio McLaughlin in his rookie year was that he's too small to protect.
Mm.
Like you can't have him as a third down back because he can't step up and fill the gap and block a blitzing linebacker. There are ways to mitigate your lack of size and weight in that situation. That's by meeting him in space, not standing here and waiting on him.
Sure.
You know what I mean? But like attacking him and meeting him in the hole, that gives you a better chance of stalemating him. If you just step up and wait for a bull rushing linebacker back there,
Crushed.
you're going to get ripped up, ripped up. So there's technique involved in it. But I would say that you want a complete running back. You want a guy who can play all downs. And so that would open the playbook up for you and not be like, nope, we got to get RJ out there. He can't block. Now, that said, rookies have a harder time with this because it's not just about your physical ability to be stout and take on a linebacker. It's about your ability to read the blitzes and to understand where the threats are coming from and to understand where the offensive line is shifting or rotating or moving and which guy is going to be coming free. You have to see the whole line that way. And you might have to step in front of the quarterback and block a guy who's blitzing off the opposite end if he's coming free.
Sure.
And if you don't know the protection and the calls, then you don't see that guy and you can get Bo hurt.
Yep.
And the last thing you want to do is get Bo hurt.
I mean,
hot
take.
Yeah, exactly. We used to have a special teams coach so we had special teams practice, then we'd have scout players giving us a look on special teams, right? And those would be the youngest players, practice squad guys, whatever, guys, backup dudes who were trying to get on the field.
Sure.
And one day there was a guy that was a little reckless. He was, kind of, he did something stupid.
A little loosey-goosey.
And our special teams coach, Scotty O'Brien, said, "Come on, Mike, you're gonna get a good player hurt."
That's funny.
Yeah, exactly. He had some good one-liners, but that was one of them. You know, like you got to know how to practice.
That's really great.
And you got to know how to protect the guys who need to be protected.
Sure.
And so if a running back is back there and he can't do that, now a 5'8", 200-pounder like RJ Harvey is stout enough to do it, but does he have the knowledge of the system to be able to put himself in the right place and to attack the player in space to close down that space? Because you may take the block on, but if you're two yards away from Bo Nix and he still put him back in Bo's lap and he can't deliver the throw. So you got to keep the clean pocket.
This has all the possibility of being a dumb question, so get excited. So do they have tape necessarily? So he was a 1,500-yard rusher last season.
Yeah.
He was their guy.
Yeah.
Is there a lot of tape on him picking up blitzes of him blocking?
Well, yeah.
Or was he
You
just
dig a little bit?
Was he the guy that they kind of just used him in the run game, passing game, yada, yada, yada?
That's a good question because a lot of times when you are a dominant college player, you're not asked to be put in a lot of different positions. Like a classic example of that is most NFL players didn't play a lot of special teams in college.
Okay.
Because they didn't have to.
Yeah.
They were the best whatever on their team.
Sure.
So they were starting and playing every single play on defense or offense. Now, based on, some coaches have a philosophy where all of our best players are going to play special teams no matter what.
Yeah.
But most don't. And most will, have a special teams unit.
Sure.
And then the starters don't play special teams. So myself, I became, a special teams player in a lot of ways in the NFL, but I didn't play any special teams in college. And so there are traits that you look for in people that will translate once they start working on those skills. It doesn't necessarily mean they have a lot of experience doing it, but you see that they, are shifty side to side. You have good knowledge of the game. They're fast. They're strong. They got strong hands. They're not easily, faked out, things like that. Then you can start to put together they'll be good at these certain skills. But it's up to these scouts to look at more than just the highlight tape.
Yeah, for
sure. You know what I'm saying? Let's watch the whole game.
Yeah.
And see how he performs on the plays where he's not getting the ball or he's asked to do different things. And I think that
because they've got a clue on weaknesses too, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And they've done that.
Yeah.
I promise you they've done their homework and figured out what kind of guy he is, not just when he's getting the ball in his hands, but when he's got to do other dirty work.
And whether or not people went to his birthday.
Yes.
Party.
That's the most important.
That
yeah.
If no one went to your birthday party, good luck getting drafted.
Well, a lot of people went to Shadur's.
Sorry, we're talking about draft day, the movie.
A lot of people went to
Kevin Costner.
Shadur's draft party afterwards.
Yeah.
He had a draft party after he went to the Cleveland Browns.
I'm going to that party.
No, it already happened, Scott.
Oh, okay.
And there's pictures of it. He's wearing these ridiculously huge diamond jewelry chains and things like that, and he's holding a Louis Vuitton box full of $1 million cash.
Good Lord.
At a club.
Yeah.
So that's not dangerous at all to go out with probably, a couple $1 million on your body, and then in the box.
I don't even like it when when players NIL gets announced, let alone having $1 million in a box at a club.
Yeah, that's scary stuff.
Yeah.
And you wonder, why some teams were reluctant. There's to get to draft Shador. I mean, that anybody who makes a show of their wealth like that puts themselves in some danger, because there's bad guys out there who are watching that stuff. They're watching your social media. They want to know where you are. And if you're carrying a lot of money, they might go there and try to rob you. Yeah. And no organization wants their quarterback to get robbed.
No. Another hot take.
Yeah, hot take. Anyway, we go back to Shador because we want him to succeed, but we don't want him to make, any fatal mistakes.
Sure.
I was here when, look, athletes are targets. Celebrities are targets. People with money are targets to the bad guys. And I was here when a teammate of mine was murdered because my friends and teammates were targets out in the community. Yep. It happened again last year. Josh Reynolds got shot leaving Shotgun Willie's because he was targeted. Yeah. We don't know the details exactly, but they,
So your point's made. Target.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So I want these kids to be safe, and this money that they're making at an early age, it kind of creates some hysteria around it, and it makes it like cool to flaunt it. They got to be careful.
Yeah, I agree. And you know who is going to be a target for Bo Nix?
Oh,
coming up is Pat Bryant.
Yeah.
Have you watched his tape? Have you seen what are you excited about with Pat Bryant? He's got some good measurables. 6'2". What is he? 204. Yeah. 6'2", 204.
I saw him at 6'3".
6'3", maybe.
Either way. You know what I am excited about?
Big target.
You know what I'm excited about? Accurate America.
Nice.
Right here. That's right. No. Yes.
Wrong one.
That's right. Accurate America. Guys, you never know where and when the hail is going to come and damage your roof. Summer storms are frequent, and the last thing you want to do is get caught scrambling when it does. You got to make the call before the storm, guys. Before the storm. Call Accurate America. You see the logo right over my head. They'll partner with you on navigating insurance and provide quick, professional, and knowledgeable service using the latest technology and 3D modeling. And their work is guaranteed as long as you own your home. They'll deal with insurance, like I said. So don't scramble at the last minute. Call Accurate America at 303-900-ROOF. That's 303-900-ROOF before the storm. Accurate America.
That was beautiful.
Thank you,
Nate. Great read.
Thank you.
Also, while you're reading that, I was just kind of looking at our comments up here, and Dominic is just making me laugh so much right now. He said, "Good morning, gangsters, West Coast style, Nate Dogg." And then he said, "We were talking earlier about smoking cigarettes as young boys, and we shouldn't have been."
Yeah.
Dominic said, "Smoking weed and have to spray yourself with Febreze and put eye drops in."
Yeah.
We weren't talking about the weed. We were just talking about Marlboro Reds or Marlboro Lights, probably. I'm not man enough for a red. But yeah.
No, I mean, you start, there's sort of a gateway.
It's a gateway.
Or like a path. Like you start with this, you go to this, and you go to this.
Mm-hmm.
I think like when we were young, for me, I'll tell you how mine started.
Let's hear it.
Of course, it starts with like, magazines you shouldn't be looking at.
Sure. Because your dad doesn't know how to hide them. At least mine didn't.
And then
under your bed.
For me, it was firecrackers.
Sure.
Lighters, Zippo lighters, knives.
Those cool butane lighters were sweet.
Yeah.
Knives were a thing.
Knives.
Yeah.
And then once you get knives,
anything you can get at a state fair that was badass.
Flea market. Yeah. So knives, magazines, lighters, firecrackers,
samurai katana,
things like that. And we didn't really have samurai swords. It's kind of hard to hide those.
It is,
in a little box.
That's true.
I was a collector of baseball cards, basketball cards, football cards.
Me too.
And you know how they had those little boxes.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
still
I had one that was like my bad stuff box.
Oh, nice.
And it was under some of the,
so you hid it. That's good camouflage.
Exactly. Amongst all the other boxes full of cards.
Yeah. No one knows.
unless you're looking, oh, why is this one so much more worn than the others? You know,
what is this little hairpin? That's a roach clip, Mom. Don't look.
So it starts with those stuff, and
Yes,
then
it
you're
does.
like, okay, well, like, look, we watched movies in the 80s, right?
Of course,
And people were just doing like, you know, smoking cigarettes
Mhm.
and drinking and doing all that stuff in the 80s. And my brother,
especially on Cinemax.
yeah, I didn't watch Cinemax. I didn't have.
Oh,
I
it was
didn't have
great.
that kind of stuff. But then yeah, you smoke a cigarette.
Yeah.
Try to drink a beer. Or something.
Sure.
And then you step, and then it's the herb.
First time I had a shot, even just a little swig of Jim Beam, immediately threw up.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Look at you now.
Look at me now. Love it. Jim Beam, if you want to
That
sponsor this show,
That
let us
did
know.
not deter you at all from
No.
pursuing your dreams.
It's not because of the taste. It's because I was a little pansy at 14 years old.
But isn't that what the taste does to pansies?
Yeah, but I grew out of it.
You
Okay,
did.
Nate, I'm a man now. I'm
Now
40.
Now you're a
I'm
40-year-old
41 actually.
pansy.
That's right.
But anyway, I digress.
Yeah. Well, you know who's not a pansy?
Yeah.
Duval
Dominic.
Pat.
And
That's what they
Dominic.
call him, by the way.
Who?
Pat Bryant.
Oh,
They call
really?
it Duval Pat because
Oh,
he's
do
from
they?
Jacksonville.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So Duval is over at Dove Valley.
Duval.
Yeah, that was weird. What was that guy coach's name?
He's the coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Now, yeah.
Yeah.
That was odd.
Yeah.
He did not. I don't know if he won the press conference, as I say. with that.
No,
Yeah.
no, he didn't. And then he's going to be the coach who's coaching Travis Hunter. So
Yep,
that's
That's great.
It's not great, I don't think, for Travis because he's a first-year head coach.
Gotcha.
You know, and so it's like Travis is such a unique player. You got to have a plan for him. And
Yeah.
to me, you need an experienced coach who has that plan.
I mean, it was great for him because he's got a guy who
And he gets to go
he
home
can
to Florida,
use. Yeah.
too. Yeah.
He can utilize him a lot of ways. I'm anxious to see how they use Hunter.
Yeah,
I
me
really am. I think it's going to be exciting.
Yeah.
I understand there's a lot of concerns about like just overall fatigue, you know, of basically how a two-way player in 2025 would work out.
Yeah.
But I'm anxious to see it. I
Yeah.
really am.
Yeah.
I hope they utilize him well, and I hope they. You said you see him more on the offensive side,
No, I don't.
defensive side.
I think he should be a day one starter on defense.
Yeah.
And then find a way to work him into offense as the season goes on,
Sure.
and see how he manages the load at defense. And because and we've talked about this before, there's each day at an NFL whatever facility is very, very regimented. You're
Mhm.
with your position group and you're going through a lot of meetings, a lot of film, a lot of installation, and all the information theoretically is important.
Yeah.
You need that stuff. You need to know the nuance to the concepts we're teaching you and why we do this and why we do this. And if we do this, then you got to do this. There's a lot of hypotheticals that you need to study and get familiar with in advance of a game, because if you get one of those wrong in a crunch time moment, you could cost your team the game.
Sure.
That's how the theory goes, at least. So we got to do all this studying, guys. We got to be in these meetings.
Mhm.
Every minute counts. There's a sense of urgency because the team you're performing against is doing the same thing.
Yeah.
So we got to study really hard to do that. So what happens when you have one player who's trying to study two playbooks and two game plans at the same time? What is he leaving out?
Sure.
Is he getting everything from both? My argument would be no, he's not.
Mhm.
But I guess, the question you got to ask is he so good that what you're sacrificing from the knowledge you're gaining in his playmaking ability and his
Sure.
ability to affect the game?
Yeah.
To me, you don't know that until you ease him into it. You don't just throw it all at him at once. I
Mhm.
think this first mini camp, you just let him play one side of the ball. I would do that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't put him on both sides of the ball in the first mini camp. We'll see how they do that. But this kid's he's a rookie. You want him in there for 10, 12, 15 years.
Sure.
So if you play it right in years 3 or 4, that's when he could really blossom, in my opinion, into like a really potent dual threat, like two-way player.
Yeah.
That you know how to use him, instead of throwing him into the fire right away, using him up. He gets hurt on game 7 and misses the rest of his rookie year.
Do you see him being used as a returner at all?
I would not do that.
Yeah.
No.
Okay. It was just you're putting him out there. I get that.
Yeah.
I just didn't know if I think some teams probably see just an absolute weapon with him.
Oh yeah.
And so they just put him in just all certain different.
Here's another thing
circumstances.
with Travis, and something that people don't talk about. A receiver, everyone on a football field moves differently.
Mm.
The movements of their job is different. The offensive lineman moves a lot different from a receiver. A defensive lineman moves a lot different from a DB. A kicker, a quarterback, they all have different movements, so their body type looks different. A receiver is never, ever running backwards, ever.
Yeah.
He runs forward. He leans forward. His technique is very tight. It's very robotic. Like, one thing I had to learn when I made it to the NFL was how to tighten up my technique and become an efficient route runner. The way you do that is becoming almost like a robot.
Mm.
It's not your natural body movement, but you're always leaning forward. You're always hunched over. You're always, like that. A DB is the opposite way. He moves backwards.
Yeah.
He moves fluidly. He moves side to side. So going between those two rooms could be hard on your body, but it also could sacrifice your ability to lock into a really tight positioning as a receiver.
Mhm.
When I saw Travis out there running routes, to me, I saw an inexperienced route runner.
Yeah.
Who was
You mentioned that before.
Yeah, who's just physically superior to
Mhm.
everyone, and he has crazy ball skills, so he attacks the ball in the air. But the NFL is more than about that.
Yeah.
As a receiver, you got to become a route runner, and you got to work on that every day. My question would be, how do you work on both?
Sure.
And so it will be very interesting to see how they do that. I hope they don't put too much on his plate right off the bat. Clearly, physically, he can handle it, but mentally, let him ease into it.
Yeah. So I'm glad that you mentioned ball skills, because kind of one of the things when I was looking up Pat Bryant was the fact that kind of the thing that was always at the top of his strengths were his superior ball skills.
Yeah.
Kind of, can you just explain to us, like, for 5, what ball skills necessarily mean for a wide receiver?
Yeah, it's just number one, the ability to catch the ball.
Sure. Got
Like that you are a reliable receiver.
Yeah.
And that people should stop calling me with spam thing, impossible spam. And catching the football is something that is hard to teach.
Yeah.
Some guys have good hands, some guys don't. Now you can begin on the jugs machines, and you can do that every day after practice to get your hands stronger and get you a little bit better. But sometimes you either have hands or you don't.
Yeah.
Jerry Jeudy, his hands aren't great. Doesn't mean he's not a good receiver. He doesn't have the greatest hands.
Mm.
He has kind of weaker hands, and sometimes in the moment of truth, his hands, he just drops it. Great feet.
Yeah.
Bad hands. But the thing about American sports in particular, you set up the play with your feet, but you finish it with your hands. You always got to finish with your hands. The hands make the play.
Yeah.
Whether it catches it, whether it throws it. In baseball, you hit it, you throw it. In basketball, you're shooting, right?
Yep.
In hockey, bang, you're
Bang.
making it with your hands. It's a hand-eye. And some receivers think it's all about footwork. It's all about the routes and how I route you up on the line of scrimmage. No, you got to have hands.
Yeah.
The hands are not just for catching the football, but it's also for smacking dudes, okay? For blocking and for getting off of a press. So you need to use your arms and your hands to get people's hands off you when they try to jam you on the line of scrimmage. And you also need to finish with your hands at the top of a route and go attack a ball. And so how do you, when you have good hands and you have good hand-eye coordination, you attack the football. It's not just about sitting here and letting the ball come to me.
Yeah.
It's me attacking the ball in space and cutting off the ball in space, not waiting for it, but going and getting it. If you wait for a football, let's say you run a little curl and then you stand there and wait for it like this, guess what's going to happen?
What?
Tell me, Scott.
DB's coming right in front of you.
The DB's coming right in front of you,
Yeah.
and he's going to smack it. So I got to attack the football, come at it, and also with my hands out like this to make it so even if he's behind me and he's reaching out his hands, he's not going to be able to reach longer than me.
Yeah.
Because he's behind me. Now, if I'm right here or if I'm trying to catch in my bread basket, the basket where I keep my bread, he's going to smack it out.
Yeah.
Right?
Fuck your bread. That's what that guy says.
Yeah, exactly. What is this? Le Pain Quotidien?
I don't know what that means.
It's a restaurant.
Oh, okay.
Le Pain Quotidien. You used to live in LA. They have them all over the place
Gotcha.
in LA.
Wasn't fancy enough to
Panera
go
bread.
there.
How about that?
So there you go.
But
Applebee's, which I call a plebes.
Yes. Anyway, Safeway. They got a lot of bread there.
Sure.
In the bread aisle. Funny story about bread, though.
Let's hear it.
During the pandemic,
Uh-huh.
okay, I was living in LA.
Same me.
COVID hit.
Yep.
Pandemonium at the grocery store.
Oh
right?
man, Sprouts was nuts.
Insane. You go to Sprouts,
Ralph's.
Safeway, Ralph's, everything.
Smart and
There's
Final.
nothing left, right? Bread, everything, pasta,
No toilet paper.
no toilet paper. But guess what? Trader Joe's, all the bread was still there. People would rather die than eat Trader Joe's bread. Okay, that's what I learned during the
We
pandemic.
just lost a sponsor in Trader Joe's, but that's whatever.
There was also another funny thing that happened at Trader Joe's during the pandemic. All the freezer stuff was gone.
Yep.
All of it, except for one item.
What was that?
Kung Pao mochi balls.
I don't think I've ever had those, but they must be terrible. Must be terrible.
Again, people would rather die
Rather
than eat
starve.
Kung Pao mochi balls or Trader Joe's bread.
But it's not good for
back
Trader
to the
Joe's
bread basket.
Yep.
You don't want to ever have the ball hit you in the bread basket. You want to go attack it. Pat Bryant attacks it with his hands.
Mhm.
Okay. And it's not just, balls that are here, it's going up and getting them.
Yeah.
And so having a tall receiver like him who's 6'3", who
Yep.
can go up and time the ball and go get it, that's a real huge asset for a quarterback.
Yeah.
And it makes, the idea of a 50-50 ball more like a 70-30 ball, because I'm taller than you. I'm a receiver. I have superior ball skills. I know where the ball's going. I'm going to get there first and go get it.
Scouts gave him a lot of credit for being a high point guy.
High point guy. Yeah.
So like kind of like they would trust him in those situations.
Yep.
Of an end zone kind of fade or anything like that, to where it's just his ball, him versus a DB.
And that's, as a receiver, that's your happy place. That's what you want. I'm taller than you. I'm better than you at catching the football. You may be faster, but guess what? The ball's in the air. I'm going to put myself between you and that ball and go get it.
Yeah.
It's about body control. It's about opening your hips and attacking it at its highest point, like you just said. And that's what Pat Bryant does. But I think, underestimated also is his blocking ability and his grittiness and willingness to go block. The Broncos receiver room is all the same as last year, except for they lost one guy. Do you know who they lost?
Who's that?
LJ Humphrey. Okay. A kind of a controversial player because people didn't like him because he had a couple fumbles, a couple drops.
Yeah. And we've talked about him
in some
on
crucial moments.
Yeah.
He had a couple fumbles, couple drops.
Yeah.
And people these days, they remember those plays. They don't look at the body of the work.
Yeah.
LJ Humphrey was actually a pretty important player on this team. And people laugh at me when I say that, but he started half the games. Why did he start half the games, Scott?
Why?
Because he's a big, strong blocking receiver who's going to go out there and set the tone on a running play by attacking a DB, a safety, or a linebacker, and actually laying hands on him and getting physical right off the bat.
Yeah.
And that's what Pat Bryant does also. He's talked about his dedication and devotion to blocking. He said something like, you got to block if you want the rock.
Yeah, which is
we're going to make something like that.
Yeah,
exactly. Like, if you want the ball to come to you on another play, well, then you got to get dirty on this play and show that you are willing to do the things it takes to be out there every play. Receivers, if you have a really good game, you catch 10 passes, right?
Yeah.
That's a really good game.
Yeah.
Well, there's 65 offensive plays. What are you doing the other 55 plays, Scott?
Yeah, you better be blocking.
You twiddling your thumbs?
I'm probably
picking your butt. You playing grab ass over
I'm
there?
definitely playing grab ass. Pat Bryant ain't though.
No. He wants the rock, so he's going to block.
Yeah.
So he's a big receiver who's not afraid to get dirty, has good ball skills, and good footwork, good body awareness. I watched, some of his highlights. And Sean Payton also mentioned that Pat Bryant reminds him of Michael Thomas.
That's a great comparison.
High praise.
Yeah.
No pressure there.
Right.
Michael Thomas holds the record.
Most balls caught in a season, right?
Yep. 149. It's a lot of
caught a couple balls.
Yeah, not that many.
Last night. No.
You did?
No, I'm kidding.
Oh, wow. Okay. I didn't know you were going to take it there.
I took it there.
That's
a great comparison, though.
But yeah, it's a great comparison. But also, like, he's got to go compete because there's guys in that room, like I said, that this room is, I think, stronger than people give it credit for.
Mm-hmm.
Marvin Mims coming into his own, finding ways to use him on offense. Obviously, Cortland Sutton, the elder statesman there, but Devon Vele, Troy Franklin. Those are young players that they want to get involved, and they signed Troy Sherfield, who's like a special teams demon in that room. So he'll probably make that team. So there's not a lot of room for this guy to come in, and he's gonna, either he's gonna bump somebody out, or he's gonna end up starting the season inactive for these games. And Devon Vele and Troy Franklin. I think it's really going to be a competition between those three guys: Devon Vele, Troy Franklin, and Pat Bryant for 2 game day spots.
Yeah,
and the other guy probably will make the team, but not, but probably won't suit up on these game days. But then they got these free agents that they signed, and those guys are going to be hungry too.
Sure.
So that's when we, relative to our earlier discussion about running backs, it's going to be a competition.
Yeah,
it has to be. That's how you have to set up training camp and practices. Sure, you have a guy who you think will be your starter.
Yeah.
But you are proven wrong all the time. And if you don't trust your eyes, and Sean Payton's talked about that a lot, he wants his coaches to trust their eyes at practice.
Yeah.
Don't come in with preconceived notions about who Scott is.
Sure.
Let Scott show you who he is here. Yeah. And I think that's what they're going to do to every player they bring in. And I think that's how you create a good team, a competitive team with guys who are hungry and come out to work every day trying to prove something.
So right now, with this roster, obviously no mini camps have started. It's basically just training right now. Wait, how many wide receivers are in that building right now, you think?
Great question, man. 10 to 12.
I was about to say, are we past 10, you think?
Probably.
Yeah.
I mean, they'll, it used to be when I played, I think it was an 80-man roster in the offseason. Now it's 90.
Yeah.
The practice squad has increased. They have 16 players on the practice squad. So they'll have like 10 to 12 guys in camp, which is hard, man. When you're like the 10, 11, 12th guy, it's hard to make an impression. You don't get a lot of chances to do that. And, can be frustrating. These guys are waiting for their shot. There's a play. I mean, there's a period of 12 plays, and you get in for 2 of those plays, and it's 2 running plays.
Right.
Well, how am I showing my stuff?
Yeah.
And so the preseason games become very important for these young receivers to not only show their team what they can do, but show other teams what they can do.
Mm-hmm.
There's former Broncos receivers who were on the bubble, got let go, and are playing for different teams. KJ Hamler, some other guys.
Sure.
No, there are. They're escaping my name right now. But the kid who was here last year, the son of the baseball player, and then Jalen Virgil also found himself on another team. Oh yeah, Brandon. Anyway, this is a good place to be if you're a receiver. You learn a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Sean Payton's a really brilliant coach, and you get an opportunity to prove yourself. Some other teams might give you an opportunity.
Yeah.
But it's a war of attrition. It's day after day after day, and you gotta just excel in the meeting room and then excel out on the field and then go out and do it all over again the next day.
Is there anything that these guys, like the undrafted free agents, these guys that they're signing kind of right now, is there anything they can do at this moment to help their cause outside of just showing up and working hard? Or is that
No, because that's what a coach wants.
Yeah.
A guy, get to know your teammates, become one of the guys.
Yeah.
Don't make it awkward and weird. Like, hey guys, what are you doing? But become a good teammate.
Yeah.
But yes, the stuff like knowing your playbook, being punctual, not making any mistakes on the football field, working really hard. As a receiver too, learn every position on the offense. Some receivers will be like, I'm the X, so I only learn the X. Or I'm the Z, so I only learn the Z. Do you know the difference between the X and the Z, Scotty?
I know that the X is the main guy.
Not necessarily.
Oh, see.
So the X
My
is
high
called,
school level of football.
Well, the X classically could be considered the main guy because he is opposite the tight end. He's opposite the strength, and he's on the line of scrimmage. The X is also called the split end.
Mm-hmm.
The split end is the end man on the line of scrimmage opposite the side of the tight end. And so he cannot go in motion. The guy who's on the line of scrimmage can't move.
Right.
It's the guy who's off the ball who can go in motion. That's the Z. The Z always goes to the tight end side, to the strength call, and he's off the ball. So if I say, we're in double wing right, the right tells the tight end where to line up on the right-hand side. And it also tells the X, you're on the opposite
side.
And it also tells the Z, you're on that side.
Yeah.
You're always on the strength as well. Unless there's, a more complex call, which it denotes like if it's trips, whatever. But when it's a typical strength call, the X is opposite that guy. Cortland Sutton is the X. He's a bigger bodied guy. Typically, the Z is a little more shifty and more of a route runner because he's doing motions and he can move more and he maybe is a little bit faster. But if you want to make yourself indispensable, then you learn the X and the Z and the slot receiver stuff, and the tight end stuff, because in these offenses, based on the personnel group, we can run any play based on, we can run the same play with 2 tight ends and 2 receivers that we can with 4 receivers and no tight ends.
Sure.
So if you learn every single skill position position, then you make yourself harder to let go.
Sure.
So it's the mental stuff of being able to step into any position that you can do to help your cause, but just being eager and taking care of your body and working your ass off every day.
And plus, I'm guessing that most of the Y's and Z's in the NFL were probably X's in college.
Well, the Y is the tight end.
Oh, sorry. So Z's and
Z's.
Well, basically, where do you see Pat Bryant?
Yeah.
Like what kind of position is he, I guess?
Yeah. It's, a 6'3", 200 pounder, probably classically an X guy, but like they need a Z, and so it could be him.
Yeah.
He could be the Z. Marvin Mims, I don't know if he's like your everyday, every play route runner guy opposite Cortland Sutton.
Sure.
That's what they're trying to find. And look, there was conversations I think had with some of these free agent receivers this offseason. I was advocating for Cooper Kupp to come here because I think that he's like the jack of all trades
guy
who can run any route in the route tree. I don't know if they have that guy yet, maybe that can be Pat Bryant. Maybe that guy's not here yet.
Yeah.
But I think this receiver room has a lot of potential, a lot more so than people give them credit for, and have some playmakers that are going to continue to blossom with this system. Bo Nix is going to be in his second year.
Yeah.
And Sean Payton's getting to know these guys, and then now they got a tight end that they want to throw to, and maybe even another guy with the Caleb Lohner guy.
Hey, you didn't call him Jeremy this time.
I called him Jacob.
Oh, Jacob last time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Either way.
Yeah. Caleb and Jacob are more similar than Jeremy.
That's true. Actually,
Right.
Speaking of Bo Nix,
Right, Steve?
yeah, totally. I don't know how many times I've actually been called Steve in previous jobs, and I just don't even correct him. I was like, yeah, hey, how's it going? It's less awkward that way. Speaking of Bo Nix, right now, will he be throwing with Cortland? Will he be throwing with these younger, maybe not the rookies, but like, will he be throwing with?
So I don't know if they do any throwing during this running and lifting period.
Yeah.
They might do some just on their own, afterwards, just run some routes on air, as they say.
Sure.
But there's no DBs covering them.
Yeah.
And there's no coverages that they're seeing. They're just getting the timing down on some of the routes if they are doing any of that. If I look back at my time here, and Mike Shanahan and Sean Payton do things very similarly in the offseason.
Yeah.
The first month is just running and lifting. We didn't really have any footballs out. We didn't have any footballs out at all. We were just, we were in the weight room, and then we were out on the field just doing sprints, basically sprints and agilities, like that kind of stuff. We're not football stuff, but just getting in shape. So I think they reported mid-April. We're now at the beginning of May. They're still in this first phase. So I think they're just running and lifting and getting to know each other as bros.
Yeah.
Maybe we're not out there.
Some bro Montanas.
Yeah, man. Having some lunches,
bro
some dinners,
Hanes.
going playing golf after they're done training.
Yeah.
I mean, was part of the funnest part of the year for me.
Fun.
Because it was like, you get to go get in shape. In the morning, you work out from 8 or 9 until noon. They give you breakfast, they give you lunch, and then you're off for the rest of the day. You can go golf or whatever, or go hang out, go to the
build
pool.
some friendships.
Build some friendships. Bonding.
Let's do some bondage.
Yeah.
No, wait. Bonding. Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's baby steps here. But it is Avs and Nuggets time right now. Especially Nuggets. They're going on to the second round.
They play tonight, right?
Yeah, they do. OKC, the number 1 seed. That's going to be fun to watch.
Well, I like it too. Basically, the MVPs versus each other. That'll be fun.
Yeah. Exactly. And Jokic can, once again prove that he's the best player. In the NBA.
I agree. The Thunder are young. They haven't really been to this level before, like where the level they're trying to get to. There, I haven't been there yet.
Yeah.
Nuggets have. They kind of have that old man ball mentality. Like, we've been here, you haven't.
Yeah.
We're just gonna muscle you in.
Yeah. Hopefully so.
Yeah.
And,
put a elbow into Chet Holmgren's chest.
Yeah, that
little
fold. Yeah, that little
7'2" guy.
Yeah, I know. He probably weighs 145 pounds.
He is skinny.
Yeah,
it's good for basketball, but if he takes a Jokic, I always say Jokic because it's Joker and it's Jokic, and I get him confused.
It is Joker.
If Joker puts an elbow in him, that'd be great.
But Liv's going to be in here in about 30 minutes, chopping it up.
Chopping it up. Love that
on
phrase.
Off court.
Yeah. We've been chopping it up.
And I think we've chopped it all up, man.
Yeah. How do you feel about RJ Harvey and just Pat Bryant in general? Think they're good picks? Think they're good, solid players for this team?
I think they're really solid players for this team. I think they fill needs, and I also think that this team has established a culture and is doing so, and that I trust their scouting process and bringing in guys that they think are going to fit into what they're doing. Do they all work out? No, but actually, remarkably, the last several years, most of these guys are not everybody in the draft, but their top picks are working out. Bo Nix worked out so far. Nick Benito is working out so far. Marvin Mims is working out so far. Pat Surtain working out so far. And those are the first 4 picks of the George Payton era. Yeah. Pat Surtain, then they gave up the 2 first-rounders in the next 2 years because of Russell Wilson. But they got Nick Benito, they got Marvin Mims, and now they got Bo Nix, and now RJ Harvey. And so I think that they have a good formula going, and I think they're going to come in and make an impact. Of course, they got to stay healthy, learn the system and all that. But I think these guys are promising prospects for this offense.
And I think, like you said earlier, I think Sean Payton and his coaches are trusting their eyes.
Yes.
Okay. They're doing that.
Yeah.
They got the guys they wanted. You're the guy I wanted.
And I'm trusting my eyes right now.
That's
you look damn good, man. You look
great too. Like the no sock look.
There's actually small gray socks.
I know, I figured that, but the no sock look.
Yeah.
I'm going with the All Blacks. But no, Nate, good show.
Good stuff, Scott.
Great seeing you.
Yeah, it was good. That was fun.
Handsome devil.
You are a handsome angel.
I'm Scott Shaffer. That's Nate Jackson. This is Off Field, guys. Thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you next time. Which flower?